I Dream About Bruno is not filmed in front of a live studio audience.
I'm getting too old for this. You know, I have to say, that Vinny Nonies, he's gonna have to get his own guy to pick up his money. I can't do this anymore. I'm getting too old for this. My knees are hurting, everything all day out there getting cash. I like getting the cash, like holding it, but it ain't mine. A little bit of vino. That'll make me feel good. Feel good, you know? This off here. Yeah.
All right. What's your position, the Bat Vigilante in Gotham?
It's Lois Lane! She's the key! Am I too soon?
Too soon! You're right about him! You've always been right about him! Fear him! Find him! Am I too soon? Has Discovery bought Warner Brothers? Did they axe the Wonder Twins?
Form of tears.
Did Ezra Miller?
Run amok all over the world, choke someone in Iceland, throw chairs in Hawaii, steal alcohol in Vermont?
Allegedly.
Putting the movie and his career in danger from being shit-canned, and that's resulting in a reboot crisis.
Yes. It's Cavill. He's the key.
I totally am.
Find them. Joe, Dave, Pretty Fly. Find them.
What the?
Shall we?
Hi, comic book guys and gals. I'm Joe, and welcome again to Anachronic Comics. I got a couple of other guys here with me. You know, I got this guy named Dave Bratton from Action Figure Comedy or something like that. Hey, Dave, how you doing? And I have PrettyFlyforaFilipinoGuy. You've seen him on my channel before. So what are we all doing here? What we're doing here is we're saying, what the heck is going on with DC Films? I don't know. We've been watching, reading, we've been IMing each other, and we said, you know what? Let's put together a couple of shows. We're going to call it DC Watch. So what do you guys think? Think it's a good idea? That's why you're here, right? All right. So listen, the first thing I think we wanted to talk about a little bit was like Superman and Henry Cavill. I don't know if you guys have been watching some of the videos on YouTube, reading some of the stuff in Variety and some of the other tabloids, and everybody is saying, we want Henry Cavill. What do you guys think about that? Do you think Henry Cavill is necessary to have as Superman, or do we just need Superman, period? What do you guys think?
You know what? That's an interesting question. I don't know that they have to, but I think it's a heck of a lot better with it, and I think it's going to be a heck of a lot more successful with Superman. I mean, he is the foundation, not just for DC Comics, but for all comics. You know,
but Dave, let me tell you, I think there's something a little bit different here.
Okay.
All right. The difference is that we already have Superman in the DCEU.
Right.
We already had Henry Cavill with Superman, and he was in 3 movies, 4 if you count the Snyder Cut, right? So he already exists in there. And that's why the question is, you know, do you really need Superman? Or can you just kind of put him aside and come up with some secondary characters or what have you, continue with, you know, Wonder Woman and Aquaman,
right?
That type of thing.
I think they can continue without him. I think they are much better served to continue with him. And obviously they kind of feel that way. They've been putting in sort of body doubles in a couple movies at the end of Shazam, at the end of Peacemaker, spoiler alert. So they seem to think the DC universe is better with Superman, who is Henry Cavill. I mean, Henry Cavill is a bankable star now. he may not have exactly been that when they started with Man of Steel, almost 10 years ago. He is that now. Witcher season 1 and Witcher season 2 are both in the top 15 most viewed shows on Netflix. Yeah. And that's Henry Cavill. So do I think they can do it without him? Yeah, but I think they're going to be a heck of a lot more successful with him. And I think just seeing sort of the speculation and the fan buzz, anytime a morsel of news comes out about Henry Cavill, the fans get excited. And I think the DC, EU is a better place with Henry Cavill Superman in it, and will be a more successful place with him in it.
So Lenny, Dave thinks they might be able to go without Superman and still be successful. And I guess that will really depend on the movies and the actors and the scripts and all that. But I think Henry Cavill is really kind of the key here. Well, I see people praying now that we've heard rumors that Henry Cavill is going to be in a number of different movies. People are really excited about that. Are you excited about that?
Oh, very, very excited about that. And Superman is important, not just because I'm a big fan. I'm a DC guy. In terms of how important Superman is, let's look at the MCU. Okay, people love the Endgame saga, and the Endgame saga had Iron Man and Captain America as the protagonists of that saga. The moment that they got rid of them, look at where the MCU is. I mean, people have complained that MCU kind of lost their way after Endgame, or is not as exciting, or they're kind of everywhere. You know why? Because they don't have their North Star, that is. Not
only that, there's been rumors that both of those actors are going to come back. Robert Downey Jr. is going to come back.
I wonder why.
Chris is going to come back. I've been reading that they're going to come back in some respect, in some way, into the movies. Now, why would that be? I think because of what you're saying. But
that just goes to show how important to have a protagonist in every story. Iron Man was always the antagonist to Captain America, and any drama in the Avengers series is always revolving around the conflict between the two. That's how important it is to have that single entity. Who do we have in DC? Superman and Batman.
So Cavill, when Bruce bought the bank that
Justice
foreclosed.
League. Yeah, the Snyder Cut.
The Snyder Cut, that was
both
it.
Justice League cuts.
Yeah, right. There's too many cuts. So when he did that, they actually almost looked like they were becoming pals.
How did you get the house back from the bank?
I bought the bank.
The whole bank.
It was like,
yeah.
I was saying, okay, here comes the world's finest movie. Here it comes.
Yeah.
This is it. The next one. They're going to get together and have a world's finest movie.
The world's finest homeowners.
That world's finest comic. I must have about 50 of them. I mean, I just loved it only because it was Superman and Batman together.
I'm going to jump in.
Terrific.
I want to jump in here. You brought up a great scene at the end of whatever, choose your Justice League cut. With according to Warner Brothers, it's the theatrical, which is pretty wild.
See the Snyder cut. That's the definitive cut. You don't need to see anything else.
That scene that you brought up, and it was a great point by you, feels like it should be a beginning. It doesn't feel like it should be the end. Like, I absolutely want to see more Cavill as Superman, more Affleck as Batman. I don't know if we'll get that. I'm hopeful that we will. I mean, Affleck was done for a while, and now he's reappearing, which is fantastic. Look, and you, Lenny, you brought up Captain America and Iron Man, and I thought that was a good point. The reason I think we found ourselves in such a state of uncertainty is those Marvel movies with those characters made a fortune, made unbelievable money. And the movies that DC put out there, even with Henry Cavill and even with Affleck, they weren't making that kind of money, unfortunately. And there are reasons for that, and that's a whole other discussion. But, maybe it wasn't the best rollout for those characters, but they've introduced versions of those characters. Whether you love the stories or not, you love those versions of the characters, or a lot of fans do.
One thing you mentioned, Dave. I'm sorry. One thing you mentioned was it didn't make a lot of money, but I wrote this down because I wanted to get this right. So after Man of Steel came out, which made it, made a nice amount of money, not the $1 billion everybody looks for.
No, less
But
than
once they
700.
came out and it was successful, because it was successful, notwithstanding what people say, it was successful. DC then at that point announced their full slate of films that was going to follow it. Now, remember, I know it's like a Zack Snyder type of scenario, but not all of it was. So I wrote them down because I wanted to make sure I had them straight. It was supposed to be Suicide Squad, 2016, Wonder Woman 2017, Justice League 2017, Flashpoint 2018, Aquaman 2018, Shazam 2019, Justice League 2 2019, Cyborg 2020, Green Lantern Corps 2020, the Batman potentially, depending on what they wanted to get done in 2021. That's what I saw.
Yeah.
I didn't see any Justice League 3, but that could have been part of it too. But that's what I saw. So that was all right after Man of Steel came out.
Right.
And what happened?
Well, what happened is the movies started, they didn't make the money they'd hoped, and they were also critical punching bags. Suicide Squad was reviled by critics. Batman versus Superman was generally disliked by critics. And then we had the Snyder leaving, Joss Whedon coming in, and then Justice League. I hate using the word flop because it made about $600 million, which that's hard to call a movie that makes over $500 million a flop. But I mean, come on, the Marvel Avengers films were making $1 billion more than that. So once that stuff started happening, that was it. And that's, if you look at your timeline, that's where you don't see Cyborg. Flash is bumped back for years. You don't see the Green Lantern film. Around the numbers or the names that you're reading off for the years after that, that's where things go awry. That's where they start, to vanish off the slate.
So, Len, you have any comment on that, or?
The timeline came to be as it is because, Warner Brothers, all the execs got greedy. They had a plan, like Zach and Nolan had a 5-story plan for Superman, and as soon as they looked across the street at Disney, literally because they're pretty much across the street over in Burbank, they were making this money, and they felt like, oh, let's go change our movie and make it like the MCU. And anytime you're not yourself, anytime the movie's not itself, it's not going to turn out well. They had the Ayer cut, and then, let's have a trailer park company recut the whole thing for Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
It made gangbusters opening weekend, but it kind of trickled.
It made good money.
And and a lot of us know what happened with the Snyder cut.
Yeah.
And we all know how that turned out. That really sucked is just the management and corporate greed. Like, hey, let's just finish. If it's not, let's finish this Justice League movie, no matter how bad it is, so we can get our bonus.
Yeah, they cranked that out so they could get it out before the end of the year to get their bonuses. And I think that's where it goes. You talked about being yourself, and I agree with that. But where it got problematic is they thought that who they were being, the identity that Snyder had chosen for their films, it wasn't making them the money they wanted. It wasn't getting them the critical response they wanted. And then they hated his version of Justice League. And,
but I keep hearing,
yeah.
But I keep hearing now, it's like how good all that stuff is. I've heard so many people who come to turn around with Man of Steel, who've come like, hey,
right.
I don't know why I hated. I don't know why I hated that movie.
Because people get influenced and listen to this stuff instead of watching it themselves and coming up with their own decision. They get influenced by these people.
I think it's a mix of a couple different things. I mean, obviously I'm a huge Superman fan. The first time I saw Man of Steel, I did not like it. I went back to see it like a day later because I knew I'd like it more on a second viewing, and I enjoy that film now. That said, as much as I like that movie, I don't love that movie the way I wanted to as a Superman fan.
Sure.
And then Batman versus Superman, I mean, that's where, Lenny, to your point, studio, they interfered. That movie is shorter. The theatrical release is much shorter than it should have been. The extended cut is significantly better.
It is tremendous. I bought it because I wanted to see that. When you see that, all the things in the theatrical cut that you said, what's going on? I don't quite get it.
Yeah.
It's all there.
Yeah. Most
it's
of
all
it's
there.
Most of it's there. I agree.
And they cut down movies for theatrics so they can show more movies.
Show them more.
Per day.
Make more money.
You know, when you see that, just want to make one point. When you see that extended cut, which is roughly 3 hours, if I remember,
almost,
and then you see the Snyder cut, 4 hours, right? It's come to me to be, I'm almost convinced to have a really good superhero movie, Marvel or DC, where you have multiple heroes involved. You need 3 hours. You really need 3 hours. And if you look at Marvel, I mean, they basically split this movie into 2 movies,
right?
You know, which is fine. You could do that,
right.
You know, but to me, you need that breadth. You need to develop the characters. You know, in the Snyder cut, I mean, you learned so much. Not only was the story a little bit different, but you learned so much. Cyborg was the star. Yeah. And I read that Cyborg was really supposed to be the star of that movie.
The heart. Snyder said Cyborg was the heart of the movie.
The heart, right. Yeah. The star
and
of the
they just took out the heart of the movie.
Yeah.
So my initial question was, do you really need a Superman? I think the answer was kind of yes. You know, kind of yes. And the question then was, do we need Henry Cavill? I think the answer was kind of yes on that too. Well, I have one last question. All right. And again, it goes to what you were talking about, Dave. Mm-hmm. I think I know what answer you might give, but I'm going to ask the question anyway.
Okay.
So let's suppose there is no Superman.
Okay.
Whether it's Cavill or anybody else, right? If DC wants to build its universe around a particular character other than Superman,
right,
which character might that be?
Batmite.
Definitely Batmite, no question. King Shark. We need
Captain
more
Carrot.
solo King Shark movies. You know what? The truth is, make a good movie. Make a good Black Adam movie. Make a good Shazam sequel. I love the first Shazam film.
So, but Black Adam seems to be potentially the vehicle to get the rest of these things going, at least because it seems like The Rock is really kind of a force in and of himself.
He is.
I mean, he's a huge star. I mean, he's the biggest star that they have, I think, right now. So if he says, I want this or we should do this, chances are, especially if Black Adam makes $1 billion plus, then he'll get whatever he wants.
Yes, if that movie makes a lot of money, that's going to be huge. Especially they're introducing the JSA in it.
I think. I mean, Lenny, you have any final comments on this thing?
The only character I could think would be a good, what's the word I'm looking for? Representation of DC or someone who could like build DC. I think would be Wonder Woman, because the first Wonder Woman, it's the least divisive of all the movies. There's a lot of fans. Yeah, The Rock is a big star, but I'll look at Gal Gadot all day. So also to me, Wonder Woman is the tie that brings Superman and Batman together. That it's the powerful Trinity wouldn't be powerful without Wonder Woman. So if anything, I think, if someone were to take the mantle, I think Wonder Woman would be a good candidate. That's all.
Well, if they do that, I just hope it's better than the 52-issue Trinity comic book series.
And Lenny, you said it. There's a Trinity in DC: Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. And right now, Henry Cavill's a question mark. At one point, Ben Affleck said, I don't want to be Batman anymore. Gal Gadot is not. She's coming back for Wonder Woman 3. She's supposedly making appearances in other films. So I think she's a great character. And I think you might get some great movies with great characters along the way that you can also build around. But I think, I agree that she's a phenomenal choice.
Killed things from other worlds before.
She with you?
I thought she was with you.
Well, let me just make my final comment, and then we can close out. But what you're saying, I don't disagree with any of what you guys are saying. But I think what you really got to focus in on is what's the vehicle going to be? Okay, it's not going to be a Batman film. It's not going to be even Man of Steel film. I doubt it would be a Wonder Woman 3 or 4, or whatever it happened to be. I think the most likely is Black Adam. I think that's the vehicle. I think that's how you're going to get Superman back in. I know Batman, well, at least Bruce Wayne is supposed to be an Aquaman. You know, I think Wonder Woman is supposed to be there too. So they've got to bring these people in through some of these other vehicles and then build, if they do it the right way with whoever their Kevin Feige is going to be, build towards something that makes some sense. And the only thing in my mind that makes some sense, you know, in terms of a build towards, would be a Justice League film. Although I would love to have a world's finest film, wouldn't mind having another. I mean, Batman versus Superman was kind of like a trilogy film. You know, it was like the three of them together. Those would be great films to have as well. But the buildup has got to be to another Justice League film, I think.
Look, I want to see DC get the love I think it deserves. But I also think it has to earn it a little bit more than it has. Like, I do think those original films have their issues.
And that's what WB failed to understand in the beginning, where they had to earn the $1 billion MCU money. You know, they had to earn that stuff. Just because it's Superman, Batman automatically should be $1 billion. No. Did Iron Man make $1 billion? No, it made like half of that, I think. No. So, and Captain America, I think made just as much. Yeah. So even MCU had to earn the $1 billion Avengers movie.
So let's end it on that note, because I think that could be another show. You know, what's David Zaslav doing? Is he doing the right thing or whatever else? So let's think about that. And maybe we come back with a second show to talk about that. Okay. What do you guys think?
Sure.
So that was our first DC Watch show, guys. What do you think? Think it's good? Let us know in the comments below whether you liked it, whether you want to see another one. We might give you another one whether you like it or not, you know, but want to know what you think. All right. So we have Dave, Pretty Fly, and Joe here saying see you until next time. Take care, guys. Bye.
Take care.
I may have one or two regrets. Mistakes may have been made.